Have you ever had a time where it was difficult to make a change to your health? In this episode, let's talk about why health changes are difficult and your relationships and how love gives you difficult decisions that may have you sacrificing yourself. Hopefully, at the end of this, you'll have more empathy for yourself and for those who you love who are facing health challenges, and you can find a way to support them where they are at instead of where you want them to be. So let's get started. As you age, everything starts falling apart, right? And to look at an example, let's look at digestive issues because they can hit you at any age. If you've experienced digestive issues, to improve digestion and live without medications, changes need to be made in your eating habits. But these changes are not always easy. So even if you're single and living independently, changes can still be challenging. It might only be you who you have to consider when making food choices, but you still have to learn what your new food choices are, and you have to train yourself to shop for these new foods, and you have to learn how to cook new meals. But what if you're not single? Without the support of your family, how are you going to make those changes? How do you eat something different than everyone else every night? And without your family's support, it can feel a little bit like a smoker trying to quit, but everyone else in the house is still smoking. There's a subtle pressure in relationships with others. So I learned about codependency way back in my 20s when I was trying to navigate the world of personal relationships. I don't know if learning about codependency was helpful because later I found that every relationship is codependent. People choose friends and spouses based on similarities in interests and outlook on the world. It's easier to be around individuals who think and act the same. So, ants hang out with ants and bees hang out with bees because they know how to live and work together. Sometimes you outgrow your friends or spouses as you experience new things in life. Your thoughts and interests may change based on new information, and still, these new relationships based on the new and improved you are still based on dependence on each other. They are still based on a codependence of similar thoughts. And it's easy to point to someone else and say, oh, they are so codependent. But the reality is, people are codependent because people are social beings who need relationships. And in order to have relationships, you need common ground and similar expectations. And those similarities mean you placed boundaries on your relationships. Look at alcoholism. When one of the partners decides to stop drinking, how long does that relationship last? If they're going to stay together, either both parties change or both parties remain the same. If one party changes and the other party stays the same, the relationship dissolves. And this happens in every relationship. As long as you're moving in the same direction or as long as you're not moving, you're together. But as soon as you start moving in separate directions, you split up. So what does that have to do with your health and your health goals? You might not realize this, but every health goal you make and work to attain changes who you are. So that leaves your current relationship one of three options. Either you guys are moving in the same direction, or you guys are moving in opposite directions, or you're giving up on your goal and you're staying the same. So back to eating. Foods are more than just about sustaining life. Foods are like a personal indulgence that most people unconsciously move towards to help manage their emotions. And comfort foods help stuff emotions, whereas PMS loves chocolate. And okay, sure, chocolate has some positive health benefits, but PMS is about stress, which is a liver emotion in Chinese medicine, and sugar helps relax the liver in Chinese medicine. So the US doesn't have all these diabetics just because sugar is in everything. In the US, stress can play as large a role as sugar in type 2 diabetes. I knew this guy who had all the issues of living a life of excess. He was overweight, high blood pressure, heart issues, problems with gout, heartburn, high cholesterol, arthritis. Yeah, I know, a lot. Yet, just a few eating changes could eliminate 80% of his problems. And he tried the changes, they were working. But suddenly he changed course and turned to pharmaceuticals to fix his concerns. And I always wondered about that. And then I met his wife. Her whole reason for being was taking care of him and all his diseases. If he actually got healthy, he would have done that without her. And he would have profoundly changed the relationship. So his love for his wife, he wasn't going to do that. So sometimes a change is too big, and your love for the people around you is going to have you sacrificing yourself. And you'll do this without even consciously acknowledging it. Okay, and you're thinking that you don't do that, but I know many of you have done this. You have made a decision to sacrifice your life for someone you love. Become a caregiver. Raise children. And who wouldn't sacrifice their life for their children? So when you're thinking about making a change to your health, especially if you're part of a family, it isn't just about you. It's actually about your whole family and how your change will impact your family. But okay, so why pharmaceuticals? Pharmaceuticals allow you to stay the same. They allow you to mask all your symptoms and your health concerns and continue doing what you're doing. And in a sense, they allow you to sacrifice yourself. It's that option where you both stay the same, and that keeps you safe in your relationships. And okay, so all this doesn't seem that it's just about family. How many of you have used medications or any substance that alters how you see and interact with the world to get through work? I just remember having to attend these quarterly planning meetings. They were offsite meetings, so there were dinners and get-togethers with team members to, bond. But what I remember most was the incredible pressure from team members to drink. Now, I don't drink, but I ended up doing it at these offsites after a while because it was just too much pressure. So when you're making changes with your health, there can be many subtle and not so subtle pressures in your relationships. But are you wondering if you change emotionally when you change your health? Well, the answer is yes, you do. Was there ever a time in your life when you outgrew someone? Their life stayed the same and something changed in you. You started seeing things differently. Suddenly, the relationship no longer fit. In Chinese medicine, the disease doesn't start in the physical body. It started a long time before your body was hurt. In Chinese medicine, things start in the Tao. They move to the spirit, to the emotions, then to our thoughts, and then they show up in the body. The physical body is the last thing. Yet, it only takes a change in your emotions to have a large enough impact on your relationships that they can no longer survive. And to change any disease, you are changing your emotions. So here's the thing. You had to work to get to disease. Disease didn't just show up. You actually had to create a world in which disease could show up. The disease is almost like an old friend. You're able to invite disease in your body in the same way you invite friendships and spouses. You search for the disease where you have common ground and understand each other, and it takes practice and effort. The thing is, the disease is a new friend who can engage with how you've practiced thinking and interacting with the world. To change means you will change more than just your physical symptoms. Ultimately, you will change how you behave, which will change how you think and how you feel. Only pharmaceuticals can allow you to change just your physical symptom. I think that's why medications are such a favorite, why it might be so difficult for doctors to do something other than pharmaceuticals. And part of the reason the healthcare system is broken. We want a different world, but sometimes it's important to not change anything in our relationships. And maybe in your waking self, in your ego, you don't understand what you're going to be asking your body to do. But I guarantee you, your spirit does. So when you're making your health changes, don't get hung up on how it isn't working, how you had a relapse, and how you can't seem to make the change. It's not just your physical body that is going to change. You are going to become a profoundly different person, and your spirit knows that. There are all sorts of agreements that you've made with people and with yourself, and to change your health means you're going to change those agreements. And maybe your spirit needs just a little bit more time. Okay, so that's it for this week. Thank you for showing up and being present. And until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.